All right, everyone, and welcome as we kick off Step Up Your Studio. And we are super pumped today to have our guest, Michael Tasner with Parent Marketing. And Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey Steve, I'm so happy to be here. Appreciate you having me on today.
Well, Michael is a seasoned entrepreneur, author, speaker, marketing expert. He specializes in business serving families and children. What better person to talk to with those of us in the dance studio business? Now, he's known for his dynamic approach and practical insights, and Michael leverages over 2 decades of marketing experience to help dance studio owners attract more students. And who doesn't want more students? Michael has multiple books that he's the author of, including articles he's done for Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine, two great magazines that I love to read. And he's been a keynote speaker at many conferences that help small businesses. We'll be talking about his appearance at the Dance Teacher Web Conference and Expo this summer. Michael is from the beautiful city of Buffalo, New York, the Queen City. Also, I looked this morning, known as the city of good neighbors. Who knew?
Definitely.
But Michael also balances his personal life. He has a family of four. So you're busy, my man. You're absolutely busy.
Definitely. And I've got two daughters that both take dance. My one daughter, she's coming, I think this year at the recital is 10 years. And then my other daughter, I think she's at 6 or 7 years. So
All right, so you've been in it, man. You know what
definitely.
it's all about. So let's get right into it, Michael. What inspired you to specialize in marketing efforts towards businesses focused on families and children?
So I started like way back when I was actually 15 years old. So I was like this odd guy in high school. I was like wearing suits to high school and carrying a briefcase. I definitely didn't fit in, but I saw this kind of growing need for websites, and I wanted to have some money of my own, and just I kind of wanted more. I kind of grew up in I'd say, I mean, middle lower, I mean, lower, like we were fine, but I wanted some of the things that my friends had, like new sneakers and sports cards and things like that. So kind of learned how to do websites and kind of continued to morph into marketing and things like that. And I just continued to see like the impact that we were making on different businesses. And while I loved working with like really big businesses because they had like huge budgets, they were never able to move quickly. So like I felt like a lot of times it was a dog and pony show. Like they would bring me in and I would like give this fancy presentation and here is the future of marketing. And like way back when I coined the phrase Web 3.0 marketing, and that was all about like mobile marketing. And that was, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. Obviously cell phones, I mean, now are everything when it comes to marketing. But I mean, I could feel the impact more so in our bank accounts and in our financials, but I didn't feel like we were really casting a net that was just helping the community and kind of local businesses. So my passion is more for kind of local. So local, like whatever you are local to your particular community. So like the Buffalo area where I live, for example. And I just kind of, we were looking for a niche. So in marketing, you're often trained to like find a niche, find an area that you want to specialize in. And we kind of fell into childcare, and it came through kind of an acquisition. We bought a business that was specializing in childcare 10, 15 years ago. And we were able to just see kind of the owners in particular. And the conversations with like childcare centers, for example, would often go something like this. I'd say, well, tell me more about either how things are going, but then I always like to get to their origin story. Like, why did you start this? And almost always they would say something like, my son or daughter, we didn't have a good place that we wanted to send them, so we decided to start our own. Or there wasn't a Montessori school in the area, or there wasn't bilingual program, so we just decided to start it. And I was able to just see the kind of the whole like servant leadership aspect that they had of like they want to make a difference, they want to make an impact, and they often were making that impact and really helping kids and families. But the other challenge was they were typically hurting themselves between the finances, the time freedom. And I mean, I know obviously like around recital time, for example, dance studio owners and teachers and educators, I mean, you're working 60, 70, 80 hours, for example. And
24.
that just wasn't overly sustainable, like a lot of hours. So we just really kind of got in the psyche and just love and believe in the concept that the kids that are going through dance studios, gymnastic studios, childcare centers, even trampoline parks for like just YMCA's, like all those different aspects that they're going to meet. I mean, dance teachers, for example, and often, because I know from my daughters, like they're being shaped by these people, and that's going to help inspire who they are in the future. And I don't know, that kind of rang true that like the kids obviously of today are going to be the future of tomorrow. And a lot of families and kids just don't know about these businesses. They don't know about the dance studio that's 5 miles away, for example, and the impact that it can make on their daughters or even their sons, for example.
No, 100%. And, it's so funny you say that because I remember once going to a chamber of commerce meeting and the woman I was talking to, she was like, "So where's your studio?" And I said, "Downtown." She goes, "I drive there all the time. I don't see it." And we have this huge sign, but it's funny when you're not on their radar, you're not on their radar, and you kind of just disappear right into the background. So with that in mind, I mean, there are a lot of communities where there are several dance studios. So how can a dance studio, owner differentiate their business in a competitive market?
No, it's a great question. And I mean, the easy answer is that we try to make sure that whatever center we're working with, whatever studio, whatever business on the other side, that we're grabbing as much attention, and I like to say multiple streams of attention, multiple streams of traffic. And what I mean by that is like the go-to right now for dance studios, they think, okay, everyone's on Facebook. And yes, that's a largely a true statement. However, if every other dance studio is doing the same thing, they're all going to Facebook, they're putting up an ad that says free trial classes, for example, they're like summer camp, or they're advertising a 6-week class, for example. If all the other studios are doing similar things, I want and I need that business to do things that are a little bit different. So either A, what can we do that's, I wouldn't say a 360, but it could be a 360. What's going to be very different from that? And then the flip side of that is that I want to make sure that we're not always going to the same places. So yes, it makes sense to have some ads on Facebook, but there are other platforms. A lot of people think, well, TikTok, does that really make sense? Like TikTok, is that really the right platform? And right now, there are very few dance studios that are advertising on TikTok. And are you casting a little bit of a wider net? The answer is yes. Like, are you going to grab some people that might not live exactly in your city? 100% yes. But the advertising costs and that attention, so to speak, is pretty inexpensive. So there's other platforms, Reddit, for example. So I could go to Reddit and look up your city and just start to see, are there people, like certain Reddit threads that either ask about dance studios? Are there certain Reddit threads that say, I'm looking for after school activities for my kids? So I homeschool, or my wife more so than we homeschool 3 of our 4 kids. So I know she's on Reddit groups, Facebook groups, things like that. And she's looking for what are other activities for homeschooling kids. And there was a gentleman, doesn't own a dance studio, but he kind of noticed this trend of a lot more people being homeschooled. So he started advertising and putting things up on Reddit and different groups of, hey, attention, parents of kids that are being homeschooled, and put something together. So it's a lot of just starting to do things differently. My background is guerrilla marketing. One of my greatest privileges from a marketing standpoint in my career, if you've heard of guerrilla marketing, or anyone that's listening has heard of guerrilla marketing, it was written and started by a guy named Jay Levinson. Actually, the year that I was born, 1984, he wrote the first book, Guerrilla Marketing. And the whole concept is about time, energy, imagination, outside the box ideas instead of lots of money to produce better results. And I had the privilege to run his marketing. So actually run the guerrilla marketing for about 5 years. And there's just a lot of just fun, unique ways to stand out. But unfortunately, like even with your example of the people that were like, hey, I didn't know that you existed downtown. Like people have tunnel vision,
Yeah.
and they often like they see the same thing. And if the ad that you put out says whatever, free trial, open house, and again, these things are fine, but what if you were to do something drastically different? What if you were to have a little video day, for example, where I mean, my youngest is 7 going on 8. I mean, she's used an iPhone since she was like 2 years old. She's doing all these fun TikTok dances and things like that. What if you had something like that at your studio? And it was just like you had the cameras and it was like the TikTok dance day, and it was kind of disguised as an open house, but it was just something different. So I'm all about doing things very, very different than everybody else.
No, love that. And yes, the book, Guerrilla Marketing, folks, if you haven't read it, get it, read it. It is fantastic. Like Michael said, and that's fantastic that you've helped him with marketing. I love it. Absolutely love that. So, Michael, what specific marketing trends should, a dance studio owner pay attention to? I know you talked a little bit about, some of the social media platforms, but what can they do as far as marketing trends that are happening? What are you
Sure.
noticing?
So, I mean, the most obvious one that everyone is talking about is AI and artificial intelligence. Now, the downside to that is that if it were me sitting in your shoes, in the dance studio owners, teachers, educators' shoes, to me, my step one is that I need to have a solid foundation. So a lot of people they love to hear about the fanciest trends. They want to know like what's the latest and greatest. However, I'll go and I'll check out their website, for example, and I'll bring it up on my iPhone. I'll look at it on an Android and a tablet, and the whole website starts to crash or fumble on a mobile device. I'll go and I'll audit their Google presence. How many reviews do they have? Is their Google business profile account being updated? How often are they posting on Facebook? So like there's a lot of the 101 things, and to me it's like all about building a house. If you're adding to a house and the foundation is rocky, the house is going to be tilting, you're going to have issues, it's going to be flooding, like you're going to run into challenges. So as much as I love trends, and I have entrepreneurial ADD, I've got marketing ADD, like I see a squirrel, like I'm over there, like I love the latest and greatest. And that's kind of where I cut my teeth, was like being on that leading edge. But when I really look at, and this is just like the hard truth, and I get it, because most dance studio owners, I mean, you're doing the best that you can. I mean, putting out fires all day. You're often having to work in the business, not on it, based on the whole E-Myth philosophy. And like marketing often is a little bit of an afterthought, but there are ways and trends, and the big one really is AI that can definitely help you. Like we're using AI to supplement content. So if you're only posting to your Facebook account once a day, and you might say, oh, Michael, once a day, that's a lot. It's free. Social media is free. So why couldn't you be posting 5 times a day, for example? And not every one of those posts might be a slam dunk post, or an in your studio, or behind the scenes, or featuring one of your dancers. I want to see that content, but you could be leveraging some of the different social media tools to add some more content. So the most basic is ChatGTP, and there's a lot of other tools that are like that from a content standpoint. But as much as I would love to say go and jump on all these trends, I would much rather see dance studios kind of hitting singles day in and day out, and the basic stuff is still working really, really well. And that again is having a website that works flawlessly on any device, making sure the website is really set up to actually convert visitors. So that's a huge thing that I see all the time. Is I'll look at a fancy website and there's no place to request more information, or for a free trial, or to get pricing. So there's little things like that. the one-on-one stuff of having a Facebook page. But for dance studios, I want to see you putting more effort into Instagram. I want to see you continuing to go all in on TikTok. That's one that is usually ignored by dance studios, just because they're talking about banning it. If they ban it, they ban it. I don't
Yeah.
think it'll end up getting banned, but you're shooting all this really great content on a regular basis. That's the really cool thing. So in working with childcare centers on this side, we have to get permit, and I know you have to get permission regardless from your dancers to be able to post their image and likeness online. But it's very different with childcare centers that most parents don't want their kids online. With dance on the other side, like dance moms and dance dads, like they love to see that stuff and they want to see their child featured. So you have all this really great content, but you're rarely ever using it. So it's just getting that content out in a couple of different places before I start to jump on the AI train, for example. But it's just social is really where it's at, because that's just the nature of this particular industry.
Yeah, 100%. And, I love what you said about, keeping everything up to date. Sometimes I'll call a dance studio and something as simple as this, the voicemail that you get, they talk about registering for fall classes and it's this time of the year. It's like, I always say to them, just keep your eye on, like you said, the little things that can make a big, big difference, and just keeping current with your website, with your voicemail, with all that stuff is so important. Because if somebody's calling and you're talking about, fall classes in the spring, it just doesn't set off the right impression, especially if they're a new customer. But speaking of, we all want, as studio owners, new customers, but let's talk for a minute about the current ones we have, and let's talk about, retention. That's always such a big thing about what we drive home with dance studio owners. Yes, we always want new students, but retention is a big key. And how do we get our current students to potentially, buy more of what we have? Obviously they love what we're doing. So what marketing tips or tools can you give us, as far as how to kind of stay in contact with our current customers, and how to kind of super energize that retention component?
So I've got a few ideas, and I just want to share one more random thing that came to my mind when you were talking about the voicemail thing. One of my favorite and most basic guerrilla marketing tactics, if you look at a dance studio, you've got all these teachers. So give them really great swag that they want to wear. And on the back, have some kind of call to action. Could even be a QR code, for example. But don't just give them something that's a shirt that has your studio name, but on the back, I mean, maybe you come up with a fun phrase. The one that always comes to mind is that great advertising, the whole "Got Milk" campaign. Like, I mean, maybe it's whatever, got ballet, got tap shoes, got dance question mark or something. But think about kind of leveraging the people that you already have, and that kind of ties into your questions. So there's a few things. So I'll put them in buckets. So when I look at one of the biggest reasons, I like to interview families that left. Like, why did you leave? And there's usually a couple of different reasons. But one of the biggest reasons that tends to go to the top is that they don't have a connection with the actual teacher. Like, I could tell you, like, my daughters are still going to the same dance studio. And I'll share why also in just a second regarding retention. But it might be like, oh, I decided to not take this particular class because I just didn't vibe with the teacher, for example. So one of the challenges is, I mean, a lot of your teachers, maybe they're part-time, they're only doing certain classes. Like, some of the teachers are 17, 18 years old. I mean, I get it. There's always going to be lots of different personalities within a studio. But I always want to look at, starting with to me, the lowest hanging fruit are these teachers. So I like to look at, are there other fun ways that I can kind of surprise and delight them? The happier that I can make my frontline team, the more likely they are to then be more positive during class, to like do things above and beyond, maybe wear the swag when they're out and about, because they build that connection with my studio. So that's really more of like the culture aspect. I want to find ways, whether it's employee of the week, employee of the month, you've got every Friday, for example, you're going to have food that's whatever delivered, and it could be whatever, Chipotle or Panera. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but doing some of those extra things to actually have your team be like, wow, like I really love working here. So to me, your team is really your first line of defense. Like my wife interacts with the admin at the dance studio, whoever the receptionist, the admin, for example, around ordering costumes and hey, we're going to be on vacation during pictures. And I won't call out the dance studio, but often, depending on the admin she gets, she'll say, oh, never mind, I don't have it. And she'll call back and try and get someone else because a certain person maybe is a little bit squirrely on the phone. So the better that you treat your team, like if you think about like, I mean, dental offices or doctor's offices, like usually those receptionists often are not the happiest of people. What can you do to have your team like, and they're going to have off days, but how can you do things that others are not doing? But on the other side, in terms of kind of retention, the most basic, I mean, what I have found is our daughters, they want those awards. They want the 1 year award, the 5 year, the 10 year, they love to see people on stage getting these awards. They love the potential opportunity for solo dances. And the studio does a really great job of continuing to send those emails. But I love to send emails. I love to send voice blasts, which I'll tell you about in just a second, and text messages. And I want to see the studio doing that every single week. And that doesn't have to just be, hey, take these other classes. Did you know about summer camp? Did you know about this competition? Do you want to do competitive dance? We're going to Florida. I want it to kind of be a little bit of a change up where maybe you're featuring a dancer of the week, for example. So it's about that ongoing friendly communication, if that makes sense. And the voice blast is something extremely unique that most studios don't do. It's called ringless voicemail. So you could have the dance owner or one of the teachers. Hey, this is Michael from ABC Dance Studio. Just wanted to send you a quick message. Hope you're having a great holiday week. We love our dancers. The dance student of the week is Emma Tasner, for example. She does these 5 classes. She's been with us for 8 years. So if you see our Facebook post, make sure you congratulate Emma. Have a great rest of your day. And it's actually a voicemail recording. We can run it through a tool where it literally rings your cell phone and then goes to voicemail. And it's just another way to continue to kind of, I wouldn't say surprise and delight, but it's keeping that ongoing regular communication. We love to also do kind of value bumps. So whether that's a special offer, a discount, hey, we know that you've been here for 5 years, so we have something special just for you. So you really want to make sure that you're doing a lot more personal marketing. And that, if you're asking me the question of Michael, what's one big thing that you think dance studio owners, teachers, people doing marketing miss? They miss the personalization. They lump everyone into kind of one bucket, and they send out a weekly email, for example. And that's fine as we're talking, but I would much rather then see a lot more personalization in the future to call out certain people, because everyone that I have kind of encountered with in this industry, they want to feel special. They want a little bit of a spotlight on them. So the more that you can make it personal, the better.
And I love all of that. And one of the things I always say too is that, parents want to know that there's advancement, right, taking place. That they're starting here, they're going there. Yeah, they can actually see it, but they want to know it in the curriculum. They want to know it that their daughter or their son that's taking classes, that there's some kind of progression going on, and that there's a ladder, so to speak, where their child continues to grow and build and have fun. And we all know, for those of us that are dance teachers, circling back to something you said a little earlier, was that we have such a connection and interaction with the students, in many cases more than the parents. I know sometimes parents have come in and said to us, my daughter, she's been so disciplined this year, she's been great, she's getting all of her homework done, her time management, and it's, you guys are doing such a great job. And we always like to say thanks. You can chip in anytime you want to kind of help us out here. But it's really is so funny how we do, and hearing it from your side, the parent side, yeah, we do have such a connection with the kids, and really do have an impact. And like I've said to many teachers through the years, it's not just teaching grand jetés, pas de bourrées, and pirouettes. It's life skills that these kids are going to take with them and really and excel. After 38 years of having a studio, we've seen that students come back along the way and tell us what a great time, what a great time they've had at the studio, and the life skills that they've learned, which have really helped them. And maybe even rolling some of that into the marketing, right? To those success stories, not just about dance success stories, but life stories. Is that something, a
Oh,
strategy that
100%.
you think too?
No, 100%. No, and like these are the dancer, the student. I mean, these are the things that they're going to be remembering. These are the memories they're going to kind of take and keep forever. And from a referral standpoint, I mean, they end up being some of the best evangelists for the studio as well. One of my favorite things, the first thing that I almost always do. So my daughter's recital is always late May every year. It's always, I've got like 2 weeks I always block on my calendar and don't book any business travel because we never know exactly what weekend day they're going to do it. I love reading the seniors, and they let them write as much as they want in the booklet, the pamphlet. And almost all of them they all sound very similar. They'll say things like, I spent more time at the studio than I did at my house, for example. And thank you for X. And thank you for you helped me get through my first breakup. And you helped me get through the death of a parent. They're not basic things of like, oh, thank you so much, I learned how to be a great ballet dancer, for example. Or loved learning hip hop, I'm going to go on and do it in college or something. Like they're a lot more emotional, and that's the marketing that, I hate to say, but that's the marketing that's going to sell. That the stuff that's going to tug on people's heartstrings is so much more power. Like I would much rather see you running an ad or putting a post on social media that's calling that aspect out. I would love you to take a quick selfie with a dancer that came back from when because I know this happens all the time. They go off to college and then they want to go back and visit the studio that they just spent 15 years of their life at. Those are the things that then need to get posted on social media, and then you accelerate the reach. You post an organic post on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on the website, and then you throw some ad spend around those posts, and they kind of naturally, I don't want to say go viral, but they definitely are going to get a lot more attention than you just putting up an ad again that says get 2 weeks free, for example. So you definitely want to tug on that, and then they're authentic. Like they're not,
They
you're
are.
not having to ask them to like, hey, can you please say that we helped you through the time of your, like, it is like highly emotional. And as you said, like the connection that they build is a legitimate connection and will help them through many years of their life.
Yes, 100%. Well, the great tips. So we're going to put you on the spot now. So we want to ask you, Michael, give us, we like blueprints. We did our books, the blueprint formula for the dance teacher and for the studio owner. So let's give some blueprint tips here. Stuff that folks, the minute they finish listening to this podcast, they can go and do right away. What's the one actionable piece of advice that a dance studio owner can implement?
I love the question. Yeah, and I've looked at your stuff. I love how you use the word blueprint and the books that you've done. So I'm going to give one that you might call it boring, but this is to me, it's going back to the 101, and that is, I call it marketing math. So the one thing that I want dance studio owners to do, anyone that helping with the marketing, I want you to go back, put a very simple, whether it's Excel, Google Sheets, even on paper. I want you to go back and kind of do a 360 marketing audit of how many leads are you getting? So how many people are calling in saying, tell me more about your studio? How many website form fills? How many inbound Facebook messages? I want to start with the lead column. So anyone that's kind of raised their hand and said, hey, I'd like more information. The second column then is, well, how many of those people did you actually connect with? And then I want you to take it through essentially a marketing funnel. So go from leads to how many of those enrollments did you end up getting? And then take that one a step further and look at, well, what's the current value of an enrollment? So what I'm looking for and this is, it'll take a little, it's hard to, I guess, necessarily describe like this, but what I'm looking for you to do is, let's say that you invested $1,000 in marketing over a 30-day period, and you had 30 people that raised their hand. I'm just using simple math for now. You had 30 people that raised their hand. Again, okay, great. Of those 30, then how many did you get a hold of? How many did you get in for a tour? And then how many did you end up enrolling in your studio? And what I'm looking for with that is to then get to the end of what is your kind of cost per enrollment. And when you have that particular data, when you're able to actually see what is my CPE, my cost per enrollment, you can start to reverse engineer all of the math. You can see, hey, if I want to add another 100 students, this is what I need to invest from a marketing standpoint. But what it also will do for you is it will allow you to start to see where you're weak. So if you got 100 leads, but you only got a hold of 10 people, for example, then I need to look at and see what ended up happening with that lead process. Did your team not call them quick enough? Were the leads not good? But I want you to be able to start to kind of run your business a lot more by the numbers. And I like to start with looking at what do the marketing numbers look like so that we can really start to reverse engineer whatever growth we want to have at our studio.
Love that. Now, speaking of leads for a second, do you believe that there's a timeline as far as, okay, after you try to get in touch with this lead or they said they were interested, but they didn't do anything, uh, can we keep marketing to them indefinitely until they tell us to stop?
That's a great question. So from a lead standpoint, I have a little bit of I guess a controversial approach in the sense of I really don't want you to stop marketing to them. Like I the only time that I'm going to remove somebody from a marketing funnel is if they say, please don't ever message me again.
Yeah.
You might say, well, Michael, what if, I mean, a parent inquired and somebody was in 10th grade, for example, and you're going to keep marketing to them. They most likely have other kids. They most likely have friends and family that might be looking or might be in the actual, like in the industry, or like there's always that, like, what is it, the sixth degree of separation, for example. So until someone tells me explicitly, stop, don't market to me again, take me off your list, we like to continue sending emails. I might dial back the text messages because text is one of those that is it's a lot more personal than anything. But
Yeah.
I want to continue. There's no cost to keep sending emails, so I want to continue sending emails and just continuing to stay top of mind as much as I can.
Yes, love that. Absolutely love it. So we are super pumped also to announce that Michael will be joining us this year at the Dance Teacher Web Conference and Expo in Las Vegas, the Paris Hotel. He's going to be doing 4 great sessions that are going to be exclusive for the event. And you're going to be having such amazing tips and formulas and immediately usable material. Michael, you just want to touch on that for a sec?
Yeah, definitely. Like I can't wait to be there. First off, so excited. So the content that I'm doing, it's all brand new content. It's not stuff that I'm talking about in other places. So I'm all about exclusivity, and I want to bring value to the audience that's showing up live in Vegas. So we're going to be talking about some stealth guerrilla marketing tips. We're going to be talking about what I call kind of black ops social media. I'm going to interweave some other things about how you can actually save a ton of money on taxes. Like, we're going to give you everything when it comes to not only marketing your studio, but I like to use this phrase, and like our parent business is actually called no joke business. So like, how do you build a moat around your studio so that you can stand the test of time? And that's all about marketing, operations, accounting, and team. So I'm going to try and kind of interweave as many of those areas, give you actionable step-by-step stuff. So no fluff, no just talking theory, but kind of swipe and deploy content so you can get out there, improve your finances, improve your freedom, improve the lives of your teachers, yours, your family, all that amazing stuff. So if you haven't registered, make sure you grab yourself a ticket. And I look forward to meeting all of you live in Vegas.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. Great tips. And folks, thank you for joining us for our podcast of Step Up Your Studio. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks, Steve. Have a great day.
You too, Michael.